On your website, jimgroom.net,
Mm-hmm.
you discuss one project in particular. It's called the Venice Seminar Exhibit, and it was for Professor of Art and Art History
Sure.
Marjorie Otch. And you describe the project as, quote, a critical element for suggesting how invaluable intellectual resources can be captured, represented, and archived for the participants as well as the outside world with relative ease. And with this in mind...
Sounds smart. Did I write that?
Good job.
Make my ghostwriter.
So with this in mind, why is it important to bring the arts online in this manner, and what are the advantages of doing so?
Well, I'm glad you brought that example up because it's a good one, and it still continues to amaze me. And here's a perfect example, right? You have students who are doing pretty in-depth research. It's a senior seminar, and the idea of the undergraduate, not just as consumer, but as producer of information and of research, is key here. The internet makes that possible like never before. Why can't you start your own journals? You guys are doing that. Why can't we do that in several disciplines? More than that, these students did some great research. They put it online as an exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
That exhibit's over 2.5 years old, regularly on a monthly basis gets close to 5,000 hits and is viewed extensively throughout the world. What? 5,000 times 12, 60,000 times a year? Where could you say any work you've done for any class at Mary Washington, which is probably on the cutting edge of making this stuff openly available, that your essay could potentially be viewed by 60,000 people in a year? Wouldn't that change the way you think about what you do? Wouldn't that change the way you think about your experience and your relationship to the intellectual community that's both at Mary Washington but broader? And I think that idea changes students' relationship to what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's not a unilateral relationship between you give me your paper, I say, yeah, this is very good, or no, this doesn't comply with mine. Not that I might not have something interesting to say. I think as a professor I probably do. But that's one step, right? Take that to the next step, and I give it back to you, and then you publish it. And then there's, 100,000 people like me who could do the same thing, and maybe be another 100,000 who are much better than me, and maybe a few of them find it and read it. And maybe you inform, and you have your own legacy now. You are starting to inform people and say, look, I never thought about, the wood carvings on this church in Venice in that particular way. Let me do some research. And you were the spark for that. And think about all the crap online. How come universities aren't putting more of this stuff out? I mean, they're not. And why not? Especially when our mission is a public mission. And when we have students, particularly here at Mary Washington, who I don't think I've ever embarrassed anyone online with the work they've done. I think rather than that, they've represented what we do here well. And I think that's not particular to UMW, though I'm proud of UMW for it. But I think that would be the case at many a university, both private and public. But don't let me get into the whole cost thing on universities. Let's bring it back to art, because that's not where we want to go that route.
Okay. Well, in light of that comment.
That's right.
Because
that's my next step. I have this practiced.
Alter your agenda.
That's right.
But even though we have this this digital environment now, where we can have more conversation scholastically, critically, and artistically, do you feel that anything has been sacrificed or will be sacrificed with regard to quality, perspective, on who can be an artist, who can't be an artist?
Well, I mean, I don't know quality. Quality is interesting because it almost assumes like we figured out quality now and it's going to be ruined. Right? Do we really figure out? Or I mean, do we know?
You said there was a lot of crap on the internet.
There is a lot of crap, but let's put it this way: there's a lot of crap on the internet, but there's also a lot of crap outside of the internet. But I think, for example, when you search, and I did a post about this, but it's interesting to me, and it shows me that when I say there's a lot of crap on the internet, I'm thinking particularly about what the academy could be contributing. For example, I searched James Joyce Araby, and anyone out there, you can go and search James Joyce Araby on Google. What you get for the first 20 pages, so 20 links, but take that 20 pages back, you get basically how to write a paper or a paper manufacturing mill of how to write a paper on James Joyce's Araby. The first 20 links, first 100 links in Google are dominated by this. I'm thinking to myself, like, really? universities, people out there haven't figured a way to kind of game Google and understand Google so that when you search James Joyce Araby, you get great resources from universities across the world, not just Mary Washington or even the U.S., but worldwide. How can that be? And I think it's because there's so much crap out there, and there's so few universities and schools in general that have understood that the web is a place where this stuff is both discovered and found, and they need to feed it. And they need to feed it to fight the crap. Now, bring this to the other side, to your question. Do I think that this is going to, ultimately be an idea of, we'll lose quality as everyone's led into the game? Well, that brings me back to that whole heteroglossy idea and diversity, right? Universities are great about talking about diversity, right? Mary Washington, diversity this. How many of your professors don't have PhDs? Well, where's the diversity there?
Yeah.
I mean, where's the diversity in approaches and thoughts, right? That's almost an assumed. It's a given, right? You have a PhD, hence that's not diversity. It's not diversity of thought. PhDs who you find are the creative arts, the fine arts. They'll be MAs, right? And that's kind of terminal degree. Same with creative writing, right? And it's interesting to me that there's a caste system and there's questions of diversity that I don't think are always so kind of fluid. And is it quality? I don't know. I think quality control. Is that what the university is about? Is it about quality control? That would scare me if it was. I mean, not that I don't think good things should come of it, but man, do we have to sacrifice all creativity for the god of quality? I think,
Especially when quality
Megan
is
can
subjective.
speak to this,
Yeah.
But, that's not how I approach my classes. It's
Right.
not about quality. And maybe that's a problem, but I freely admit it, and I really don't give a crap about grades.
So you don't
At
that's
all.
nice. Everybody take Jim Groom's class. No.
I don't. I mean, and that's not to say that they're not important, but I don't think they inform a sense of what needs to be done and how we do it, right? I think what it does is it kind of creates this artificial relationship of power. And you, as a student, should be in a position to pursue an idea, to develop that idea. And you should be surrounded by a peer of students who can both inform how powerful that is or isn't, and you should be in a position to kind of judge that work, It shouldn't just be about one person. Now, it's easy for me to say because I'm dealing in a field that is digital. It is about storytelling. This may not go for all disciplines, but my approach is very much that. And, it's uncomfortable sometimes to be in the academy and feel that way. And, people can rationalize that idea of what makes something high quality versus not. But if you're a professor, and let's say one day you will be, good luck with the process of grading and the arbitrary values that you inherit and impose. Right? We don't talk about that. We hide behind quality, we hide behind assessment, but that's a human relationship.
Yeah, we found that I think we can say even with going through submissions,
Yeah.
what is good,
Perfect.
what is not
That's
good.
right. That's right, quality. And, you have an idea of it. It's not that your idea, what's great about that is that you have an idea of what quality is, but that doesn't have to be an absolute idea. It can be an idea that informs what's powerful about your journal.
Right.
And that's why I like this class, is you can kind of step out of the idea of what's arbitrarily quality. And that's why we get to all the problems with education. It's standards. Right? When you create standards, you create a normalcy of intellect. Create a normalcy of the idea of what is, thought and what is thoughtful. And I don't buy it. And I think it's kind of killing our education system. And let's face it, U.S.'s education system is not creating, the greatest minds in the world, nor is it necessarily creating artists. It's like artists emerge in spite of it. Because, what are we doing to foster the arts in K-12? Nothing. We're cutting. Okay, anyway. Back up.
Well, all right. Well, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for talking with us. We really
please.
appreciate it, and we hope to touch base with you
No,
again soon.
it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.